Oh wow, there he is.
He's over in the corner, see if we can't get him to wake up a little bit for us. Hey buddy, what are you doing? You gonna have some breakfast this morning? We're gonna see if he wants what's in his breakfast bowl. Usually his favorite are green beans, but he may not be that hungry this morning. But you're welcome to pet him just real nice and slow, just like this down his back, and see kind of how soft he is. He looks really coarse and wiry, but he's actually a lot softer than people think. But if you were to look at an individual hair from the back of a sloth, you would see a lot of tiny little micro cracks all throughout the hair. And that's what allows them in the rainforest to be able to gather that rainwater on their back and start to develop that moss and algae that they use for camouflage. What do you think, buddy?
Is he usually social?
Well, sloths are always slow and they sleep a lot, so he's not usually like climbing around back and forth, you know, things like that. But he is having just a little bit of a slow morning this morning. See if we can get the.
Look, I am too. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, we all have slow mornings sometimes.
Well, believe it or not, I picked a hotel that was on the other side of Chattanooga.
I know.
So we was on the west side of Chattanooga, so it was like an hour to get here.
Oh no.
Plus we checked out this morning, so we're way up.
Yeah. What do you smell like? So since sloths have horrible eyesight, their sense of smell and their sense of hearing is actually really good. Usually he really likes this rice mixture. I'm gonna see if this will kind of wake him up for us this morning. If not, I can break out some banana. The banana is given to him just in moderation. But he really does enjoy it. So
Is that like a treat?
yeah, it's high in fructose, you know, as any fruits are, so it's a little bit harder for them to break down and digest. But they are able to, and so we do give them some on occasion. Let's see if we have any that are not rotten in here. It's all the same to him. He doesn't mind at all, but.
Now we're looking over because I test you.
Hey, bud. Smell this banana? Where'd you guys get married at?
Cape Cove.
Oh, wow. That was probably really pretty.
Yeah. Got several pictures I could show you.
Yep.
We actually had some clear weather, so we could actually do.
Yeah.
And his name is what?
Flash.
It's just like him.
Yeah.
Flash, 90-yard dash.
And we do have another sloth named Dash.
Oh, really?
We do. We have 3 sloths. Flash is the oldest. He's about 7 years old. And then Dash is the youngest. He's only about 8 months old. He's really small still. He spends most of the time up at the main house. Stays in their bedroom a lot.
Stays in their bedroom.
They have an enclosure in their bedroom where they sit. This whole basket that he stays in inside of the enclosure. Then right above him are branches and limbs and things that he can climb up on if he wants to. But most of the time he just stays in his little basket.
Is this the daddy?
Nope. So we don't breed the sloths here. We've got both Zoe and Dash from a breeding facility where the guy's been doing it for over 30 years. He's actually a veterinarian, and what started his whole program was he was working on a rehabilitation for the injured sloths from the rainforest. The ones that were not able to be returned back into the rainforest would come back, and they started his breeding program.
We need to make him a sloth, but
Yeah, we gotta have all the different licenses and everything in order for them.
I saw the zebras and everything else. I'm thinking there'll be a bunch of paperwork, federal, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so we have the same licenses as the zoo does. And we're inspected by the USDA often. They just kind of come in for pop-in inspections where they look at all of our vet records and our health care records and everything. They're gonna stay on top of all that because all of their rules and regulations are extremely strict. And even if just a little bit of it is not how they like it or not how they want it, then we can get in big trouble for it. We've got to always stay on top of all that.
That's awesome.
We do have 3 sloths now, but we're hoping in the next 2 weeks that we'll get another one, and that'll be from the same breeder that we got Zoe and Dash from. Now Flash came from a different situation, so when we first got Flash, he was already 3 years old. And he had been in a facility that was just similar to a zoo, where he was just basically observation beforehand. He was never held, never touched, or anything like this. So it really took like the first 2 years of having him, of John just working with him, being in there and talking to him, getting him comfortable with his voice and being around people, before he would come down and even consider interacting with us in this manner. And so you can see, he's got a small limb out here, but this is just where he does his encounters. His enclosure is actually behind that door, and it goes up 20 feet. And so we just do his encounters first thing in the morning, because we know he's gonna be coming down wanting his breakfast. And then the rest of the day, he just kinda comes and goes as he wants to.
Yeah, I noticed that, all the thingies were kinda early.
Yeah. Yeah, so all of our sloths kind of get the routine down of what time they have encounters. And so Zoe usually knows, she's still sleeping right now, but towards the end of our time with Flash, she usually starts waking up and she's like anticipating somebody coming there to hold her, because that's what she enjoys doing. She was raised to be an ambassador sloth. She would rather be holding on to a person than she would be hanging out in her hammock. And so all I have to do is walk over to her, and she's already wanting to climb up onto me, because that's where she wants to be. And then after the encounter's over and I go to put her back in her hammock, I have to peel her claws off of me and step away before she tries to get back onto me. That's really where she enjoys being.
Being held.
Yeah, exactly. And so when she was still on her mother's chest, before she was even weaned, the breeder had started working with her and all of the babies. He has a separate ambassador program that he does, and then he raises sloths that are going to zoos and places like that as well. But he starts working with the babies before they're even weaned. So he has the mothers clicker trained to know that when they hear that little clicker sound, that they get a treat or a little reward, and then the breeder will borrow baby for just like 10-15 seconds while still standing right next to the mom, and then give the baby right back to mom. So mom's never stressed out because she's having her a little sweet treat, and then baby's never stressed out because mom's never stressed out. And so that time would slowly increase as the baby gets just a little bit older and a little bit older every day, up until when the baby is completely weaned of the mother's own choosing, around 3 or 4 months old. Then that baby's used to being held by a person for upwards to an hour a day at a time. So.
Cool.
Kind of stretched down to me a little bit.
Yeah, you did.
He's like, wait a minute, you can't reach me really good because you're short. Let me come to you.
And you can offer him any of this. All of this is for him for breakfast. I don't know if he's looking pretty sleepy this morning, but you can try it.
Would
See
you
if
like
he
to have
wants
a
any.
bite?
You think would? Maybe. Here we go. So in the wild, sloths have different variety of moss and moss and algae and fungi and things like that grow all along their back that they use for camouflage. So from the rainforest floor looking up at a sloth, they're virtually camouflaged into the canopy of the rainforest. But looking down from the tops of the tree, like from a bird's eye view, it's a lot easier to spot them, which is why the harpy eagle is really the #1 thing that's out to get a sloth in the rainforest. So sloths have a specific locking mechanism that are inside of their claws that allow them to hang on the branches of the trees for so long, and it's completely effortless for them. So they're expending no energy when they're doing that. So for them, clam down is actually their relaxed state, and to have to loosen up or reach for the next branch or let go of that branch is what's actually more difficult for them to do.
I'm not a carrot.
He didn't want the green bag.
No, they don't want anything. They want everything but I'm on cloud 9. Oh my god. Another one? Are you thinking about it, buddy?
especially when he's eating the rice.
Oh, I imagine.
He gets it all over his nose.
So how long have y'all had him?
So we've had him for about almost 4 years now. A little over 3. We got him in early 2022.
Yes, precious.
He is a two-toed sloth, although now we're moving more towards saying two-fingered sloths and three-fingered sloths, because they all have 3 toes on their back feet. And to say two-toed, it's kind of confusing because they have 3 on the back and then 2 on the front. But he is a two-fingered sloth. The three-fingered sloths are a lot harder to keep in captivity because their diets are a lot more sensitive. So here, obviously, they're getting a mixture of squash, zucchini, sweet potatoes, green beans, things that you're not gonna naturally find in the rainforest. But their diets can be manipulated to where they can be raised on this kind of food, and live to be up to 50 years old in captivity. So they can live a really long, happy, healthy life in captivity. In the wild, we expect it to be about half that, just due to things that are after them and different things that happen to them in the wild. But their diets can be varied. However, the three-toed sloths, they really can only eat the leaves of the sarcopia trees, which is what naturally grows in the rainforest. And so to try to implement a three-toed sloth into captivity is pretty difficult because we can't get those trees growing anywhere else. There's been some efforts down in southern parts of Florida and California to get some of those groves growing, but they've not had great success with that yet. So until we can get something like that up and running, it would be pretty expensive to have a three-toed sloth, because you basically have to have a private jet to, take you to and from the rainforest to get you those leaves every week.
And even southern Florida, like down around the panhandle, or the tip there, is not suitable for, it's, I mean, we figured somewhere down there in that swamp, they'd be pretty much rainforest.
You just don't want a green bean at all.
It may be, sometimes he gets picky about, I don't think I rinsed those this morning. He gets picky about if they start to get that film on them. I think they've been in the fridge for just a little bit, so they probably have a little bit of that film. He's like, no. But he's so finicky that sometimes I have offered him one side of a vegetable or a green bean or something. He's not one of that, and then I turn it around and offer him the other side of the same piece of vegetable, and he's like, yeah, that's what I want, and he'll take that one, so. He's a pretty funny guy.
Are you a little picky?
Well, if you get hand-fed all your food, I guess you can be.
He's just so amazing.
Do they actually ever get down or all and walk around the ground?
Not for exploring purposes. So the only time that they come down off the tops of the trees is to use the bathroom. And they come down to the base of the tree and they still hold on to the tree while they're doing so. And that's actually really important and really cool relationship that they have. So in the wild, they have a variety of moths that live all throughout the sloth's fur. Obviously, we don't have any here, but in the rainforest, they have a symbiotic relationship with those moths, meaning that they both benefit. So the sloths need the moths, and the moths need the sloths in order for them both to survive. So once a week, when the sloth comes down to use the bathroom, and they do only go once a week, once every 7 to 10 days, because the time that they're most vulnerable and exposed to other animals are when they're down on the floor of the rainforest to use the bathroom. So they will climb all the way down the tree, and they'll use the same side of the tree to the same pile that they always go to. And that's because when they go down to that pile, the moths that are on the sloth's back will come down and lay their eggs in the dung pile of the sloth. A week later, those eggs have turned into larvae. The sloth will come back down, and the cycle will be repeated up until 2 weeks later. Then that larva has now developed into adult moths that will climb back up onto the sloth, and they'll always be repeated. So obviously it benefits the moths because it's a little transportation to and from their breeding ground. But not only that, there's also that moss and algae that's growing on their backs. So it's a constant food supply for those moths. But the other side of it is that it also benefits the sloths. So when the sloth turns around and grooms themselves, they lick up a portion of those moths, they eat those, and that's actually their protein source in the wild. So they'll eat a small variety of bugs and insects that are on the leaves that they're eating, but also the moths that are on their back. But the most important part of it to the sloth is that the sloth will actually lick up some of the moth's waste that's in its fur, and that's where they get the bacteria to be able to digest their food. So they don't digest their food through an enzymatic process like we do, it's through a bacterial process. And the only place they can get that bacteria is through the waste of the moth. So that kind of beckons the question, well then here in captivity, since we don't have the moths, how do they digest their food? And that's actually on day 3 of all sloths' life, even the ones in the wild. The baby will climb onto the chest of the mother and lick her in the corners of her mouth, because while she eats, the food will mix with her saliva and kind of bubble up in the corners of her mouth.
Mhm.
The bacteria that she has already established in her gut is also in her saliva, and so the baby will get just a little bit of that, and then that bacteria that they get from the mother will start to germinate, colonate, and they'll start to develop their own colony. And then in captivity, the sloth will keep that bacteria colony the rest of its life as long as everything is just right. So that bacteria has a really specific temperature requirement. It can't drop very low, below like 75 degrees. If it does, then that bacteria starts to die off. And if that happens, since we don't have the moths that are living on the sloths, they don't have a way to replenish that bacteria. So if it starts to deteriorate, that's really bad news for the sloth, which is why we always tell people, among various other reasons, that owning a sloth as a pet is an absolutely terrible idea. Yet still, we have people that see just a few seconds of our lives and are like, oh my gosh, I want to have a sloth in my room. And this is obviously not a bedroom. Some people think that, oh, this isn't somebody's bedroom. No, I don't know of anybody else's bedrooms that are painted like this. But yeah, owning a sloth as a pet is an absolute terrible idea. There is so much that goes into it, so much balance, so much that you have to pay attention to, and all of the specific temperature, humidity, dietary requirements, that it's quite hard to keep a sloth alive in captivity. So everything has to be just right for them. But if everything is just right and everybody knows what they're doing, and everybody's on the same page, then the sloth can live to be up to 50 years old.
That is the last sweet potato. That's what he seems to be wanting. Sweet
And then,
potatoes.
maybe we can break out some more if that's what he's wanting.
That's what I seem to be wanting.
And he does get in his mood sometimes where he'll pick a new favorite food for the week.
You wanna try the squash again?
I don't think he's got it.
No. This one.
He says, yeah, that's crunchy.
It's just perfect.
But I did mention that sloths have really terrible vision, and they have a condition that's called rod monochromacy. That means that they only have rod cells in their eyes and no cone cells. So we have cone cells in the back of our eyes that allow us to see color, but since they lack those cells, they are colorblind. Not only that, but it's basically like if you were to, if you've ever watched a movie that's had like a little clip of them seeing through night goggle vision, and everything's kind of green and just, you can't really make out what's what, you just see something moving. That's kind of what they see. So they can't distinguish the difference between me or you, but he can hear the difference. So since they have such terrible vision, their sense of smell and sense of hearing is quite good. So he knows that I'm in here and he knows who I am because I'm talking and I, don't shut up a lot of times that I'm in here. And so he knows who I am just because he hears my voice and he knows that I'm in here. And his absolute favorite person in the entire world is John. He's the owner, because the first 2 years that we had him, we've grown a lot just in the past year. Probably about a year and a half ago, they had about 3 employees, and now there's 19. So we have got up and running very quickly. But for the first 2 years that we had Flash, John was his primary caregiver. So he was the one that spent so much time in here talking with him, taking care of him, getting him used to his voice and everything. So he really picked John as his favorite person. So sometimes if he's in here and he's having kind of a slow morning and is just kind of curled up in a little ball over there in the corner and just not wanting to eat, not wanting, just wanting a nap, all John has to do is just walk in here and just start saying a few things, and he's like, oh, where's he at? He'll come down, he'll climb to the end of the branch, looking around, trying to find where he is.
Really?
He really does enjoy John's company. And same thing for the mornings, is I did mention that his enclosure goes up 20 foot. And
Yeah, I
since
saw
he's
that.
having a slow morning, and he's not wanting to come down for me, whether I'm going in there blowing banana up towards him, trying to get him to come down, if he's not coming down, all John has to do is just come in here and go, hey, Flash, in his tone of voice, and he will start coming down right away. So they do pick their favorite people. And Zoe did the same thing, the one that you'll hold here in just a few minutes. And when we first got her, for the first year of her life, she stayed up at the main house in their bedroom as well. And so Donna works up there all the time. She does all the virtual sides of things, John's wife. And she does all the bookings, calling people, all the reservations, all those things. So she would hold Zoe like pretty much the majority of the day, because that's where Zoe wanted to be. And she would be upset anytime that you put her down. So she was on Donna all the time, since Donna's talking on the phone and everything. She really got to know who Donna was, and got so attached to her that Donna can't come down here and do encounters with her anymore, because if she's in the same room as Zoe and somebody else is trying to hold Zoe and give Zoe some snuggles, she could care less about who she's holding on to, and she just wants to get to Donna the whole time. And so we're trying our best with our baby Dash to make sure that everybody has a chance to hold him, everybody feeds him, so that he doesn't get so attached to one person that that one person can't do encounters. So. But you can also see how dilated his pupils are, and he does have a really narrow field of vision. They stay dilated like that all the time. And so it's essentially like if you were to cut both of your hands together and look through it like a telescope, that's about all he sees. So he doesn't see something until it's right in front of his face, which is why it's so easy to startle a sloth. And that's why we always try to talk to him while we're doing things with him. Before we touch him or anything, we just start talking to him and let him know we're right there, because they can be startled pretty easily. And if they're startled, they can make a little bit of a hiss sound. So there was one time that we had Zoe out here, and there was a chair set up, and I had just gotten Zoe off with the person that was holding them because their time was up, and went to stand back up, and Flash had lowered all the way down where he was just hanging by his back feet, and I kind of bumped into him, and in my ear I heard a little.
No, okay.
I think we did.
Maybe. And that's kind of a cool thing about sloths too, is that it takes their digestive system about 30 days from start to finish to digest everything that's in it. And so it takes a long time for the first piece of food to get all the way through, which is why they have kind of like a little internal shut-off valve, that if they're eating and all of a sudden their system tells them, hey, I'm full, I don't need any more, they can just shut it off, they'll take a nap, they don't feel like they need to eat anymore. Because if they continued to eat even after their system was full, it would back up pretty quickly and they'd get pretty bloated from that. And that can be pretty offsetting to the bacteria that they're using to digest their food.
There's a plethora of information down
I'm listening.
there. You're in heaven?
I'm in heaven.
Oh, I know. This is her, like, we have so many different sloth thingies that we
Yeah.
go over. Have some of the cars, some at the, house. Sloths is her thing.
We will see. This makes for a pretty good picture. If he wants this piece of banana, what we'll do is I'll put it kind of near his face, and I'll have him lower down where it's just hanging by his back 2 feet. Then you can get really close to him and take a picture of him real down low to you. We'll see if he wants to come down for it. Just smell that, buddy? He says, oh yeah. Come on. Come on. They have the ability to hold all of the body weight up by just one claw from the moment that they are born. He says, you have more for me?
It's like you knew you wanted him to come down.
And if you want to jump over there and stand next to her too, I can take a picture of both you guys before it goes back up.
I'll just put 'em. I would have it on video, and I can take pictures while it's in video, but this,
Oh, okay.
this is fine. See a little face? That'll work.
You can see how his spine is kind of curled backwards right now. He can go even more than that, all the way to where his head and his spine is facing the complete opposite way. That's because he's got 3 extra vertebrae in his lumbar spine, 3 or 4, that allow him to do that. So some of the differences between the 2-toed sloths and the 3-toed sloths is that, one, the most stark difference is that the 3-toed sloths are a lot smaller than the 2-toed. Not only that, but they have like a little brown band across their eyes. Those are the ones that you see pictures of that look like they're smiling all the time. And a lot of times you'll see pictures of them hanging with all 4 feet onto the branch with their neck turned backwards, looking at the camera that's below them. And that's because the 3 extra vertebrae that the 2-toed sloth have in their lumbar spine is in the 3-toed sloth's cervical spine. So they have the ability to turn their neck 180 degrees backwards, where the 2-toed sloth have the ability to turn their spine all the way backwards like that. And then it's thought that the 3-toed sloths actually have even more moths that live on them, and that's because they have a little bit of a tail at the very end, so that when they come down to the ground to use the bathroom in that same pile that they always go to, they use that tail to kind of burrow into that, and so it allows a lot more of the moths to climb up onto them a lot easier than it is for the 2-toed sloths. But luckily, the sloths that we have here do not have tails, and so therefore they don't get a whole bunch of dingleberries on their booties like the 3-toed sloths do.
And he's not as social as she is.
No.
Okay.
By far. So she, like I said, I talked a little bit about how she was raised and how Dash was raised from a really young age, starting to incorporate human touch and being held and things like that, so that when she was weaned, people basically became her second mother. That's where she gets her comfort from. That's where she snuggles in. And, you know, she'll wrap around our torso similar to how she would her mother when she was a baby. But Flash was not, we don't know where he was bred. We only know where we got him from, the facility that he came from. So we don't know what his background was like. And therefore, same way with his nutrition. So Zoe is almost just a little bit heavier than Flash is. She's shaped completely different. She's shaped more like a pear, whereas Flash is more cylinder and long when he's stretched all the way down. But Zoe's just a little bit heavier. That's because we know exactly what she's had from the moment that she was born, because we have real direct contact with the breeder. We always have him on speed dial and things like that to ask any type of questions. And so we know what she's had, we know what she was transitioned onto and the food that she's had all throughout her life. But for the first 3 years of Flash's life, we don't know what he was fed. So he had a very different, you know, nutritional background than our other 2 sloths.
He seems to be enjoying the pet.
Yeah, he's never offered to climb onto us though, and so that'll completely be his decision if he ever does so. There's been a few times where he's been on some lower branches down towards the bottom, where we've kind of walked over and just been like, you know, offered it if he wanted to climb onto us. But he's kind of looked at us like, maybe not, and then climbed back up. So he's never made any efforts to do that.
How do you implement your name there?
So we open up this door and he hooks onto the door frame right here, and then the branch that's real close to it, he just hooks on just like that.
So nobody's ever actually held him?
Well, once when we had him sedated for some blood work, we had him, which is actually a really cool experience. So he's 7 years old now, and we needed to do some blood work on him and everything, make sure everything's looking good. And we have to sedate him for that. So he was hanging just like that. We gave him the sedatives. And once those sedatives kicked in, he was just holding onto that branch, turned his head, and then everything just fixed. Everything just froze, everything went stiff. And that's because if a sloth were to pass away holding onto a branch, they would not fall from that branch. They would continue to hang there until something either rotted or knocked them out of that tree. And it's the same way when they're, you know, sedated. And so after we worked on it, and they were hanging for like 5 minutes. But from, petting him like that, you can see you're moving him a little bit. After moving him and manipulating him and moving just like that, just a little bit, his claws slowly kind of loosened up a little bit. So we did have to finish prying all 4 of his claws off of the branch to be able to get him down and finish doing our blood work and everything and our assessment. And so we held him for just a little bit at that point to put him onto the counter. But that's the only time we've ever held Flash.
So even, the owner, what's his name, you said was his person?
Oh, John.
He's never.
Nope. He's offered it. John's come up, next to him and offered to see if that's what he wants to do. But since he was not raised in the same way, that would be something that would be pretty stressful to him if we were to try to pick him up, and he's never had that done before. And so sloths, like I said, it's a very sensitive, very specific system. We don't want to throw any of that bacteria off balance whatsoever. So that'll be completely his decision if he decides to do that one day.
He's pretty.
I think that it's time for you to switch over. We're gonna hold Zoe, but there's another couple that's gonna come in to see Flash right after this. I'm gonna check and step out and see if there's somebody else that's gonna be able to talk with them about Flash while I do you with Zoe.
Okay.
That is Zoe. That's what you're gonna hold, so I can't stay here with you, but.
But we need lots and lots of pictures.
Did you bring your camera?
I did not.
Alrighty. Well, I will take plenty of pictures and do all of that kind of videos and everything, whatever you want me to do.
Do I need to give you my phone?
Yeah, if that's what you want me to take it on. I'll grab this chair. And you and I will go in here and we'll hold Zoe.
Hey, I just show one person for this next.
Okay.
It said Crystal. Anybody in your group, Crystal?
That's my wife, but
Okay, just making sure. Because it was under the name and I'm like, just making sure.
yeah,
Okay, we're good.
it's for me.
Awesome, okay. So we're gonna come on in here. Alrighty. So we're gonna do a sloth encounter here.
Sloth's one of my favorite animals.
Really? Well, fantastic. So
She
this,
knows I've always wanted to hold one. I might cry.
hey, go ahead. Everybody does. Don't you worry. I promise you, it's
I'm
okay.
tearing up right now.
It's okay. It's awesome. So we can get all the pictures. We'll get Mr. Flash here to come down really close to you. You can get some selfies. He is our oldest member of the sloth family we have here. He's 6 years old. Let's see if I can get him to look here.
I should have worn my sloth shirt.
Yeah, you don't want that either? Let's see which one you're going to be picky about today. I'm sorry, I have sanitizer on my hands too, buddy. I'll take you out right there.
Out of your way.
You're good. Just gonna clip your Achilles there. Hey, bud, come say hi. So I'm gonna feed him a little bit of
Beautiful.
rice. That way he'll come down for you. You can get up close and personal with him. So you from around here?
Alabama.
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Find my dishes here.
Yeah, we come from a small town in Alabama.
Yeah. So you can, on petting Flash, he likes it. It doesn't bother him. It's just slow pets on his back. He was not raised to be held, so he's not familiar with that. Because when we got him, he was 3, so he was already pretty established as, not being held. Oh my gosh, so okay. So if you would like, where's your phone at? I'll like do any pictures you got in videos. Come here. I'm gonna make you come down because we want to see how big you are. Yeah, come here. There we go, big guy. All right, so if you'll just hold that, he will eat out of it. He'll probably pull your arm towards it. your rice, bud.
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, you can pet him while he's eating. It doesn't bother him at all. They're a little sensitive, like on the palms of their hand, because they rely on those for everything when they're climbing and moving. And of course, the booping of the nose, they don't like their face messed with.
You're so cute.
So he is a two-toed sloth, and you can tell that by the two toes right there. There are two-toed sloths and three-toed sloths that exist today. There's a little bit of an anatomy difference in them as far as the vertebrae and the size, but not a whole lot when it comes to what a sloth does. Sloths are pretty slow. They do spend 85% of the day asleep.
Yeah, that's me. I work second shift. I always work second shift, and my mom's always called me a sloth. So I have a thing for sloths because
It's your spirit animal, huh?
yeah, it's my spirit
That's
animal.
cool.
I've always wanted to hold one. It's always been on my bucket list to hold a sloth, or just to even pet one,
Yeah.
be around it.
Yeah, and you don't have to go flying across country now to do it.
I love that.
So sloths do spend 95% of their time upside down. They are upright when they use the restroom. They will go down a tree and then they turn and scoot their way down, and it's interesting because they do what we call a little potty dance. And the reason for that is just so that they burrow a little hole kind of in the ground so that they can go to the restroom. They only go to the restroom once every 7 to 10 days
You don't want it? No, okay.
because it takes them 30 days to fully digest and process 1 week's of spinach.
Really?
Yes. Super, super, almost going in reverse metabolism. Which, they don't do much, they don't have the energy to do it because the metabolism is so slow.
It is beautiful. I think everything that they do is just gorgeous. They just take their time.
Oh,
I wish
yeah,
I could
for
just
sure.
take my time.
I know, right? You'd be less stressed if you could
Yeah.
just enjoy and take your time, right? They are pretty isolated animals. They live by themselves. They don't need others unless it's just mating season. There can be hundreds in the treetops. They're okay, but they just stay to themselves.
That's what I like about it. I'm a homebody. I stay to myself. I don't like going out much. I work, go home.
There you go. So their vision is horrible. So he can't see you. He doesn't know that you're a person. He just knows you're a big gray shape. They go off their sense of smell and their hearing to rely on everything. They're missing they don't have the cone cells in their eye that helps them to see color and dimension, like we do. So that's why everything to them is just big blobs. So that's why, one, they are such a prey animal because by the time you got close enough for them to know that something was near them, it's too late. So we don't have much of a defense. As he was eating, I'm sure you noticed the 4 really sharp teeth in the front. Those teeth are strategically placed so that every time he opens and closes his mouth, it's sharpened in them. So they always stay sharp. There's no enamel on it. And they don't break off easily. They don't break off easily at all. They do have a couple more teeth in the back that are real teeny, but they rely on those 4 front teeth. Are you going to go to sleep, buddy? Are you going to go to sleep? You're just going to hang out there. On a sloth, their hair is the only hair on an animal that grows backwards. It grows from belly to back instead of back to belly. So that's why if you noticed on the stomach, it was a lot shorter, and then it's longer. And he has what we call a cowlick. All of them have this little tuft of messed up hair right there. And so what happens is for rain pour off. So whenever it rains and it comes and gets on them, it can just run off of him and not puddle on his stomach.
It's beautiful. I ain't got no words.
It's pretty cool. It is a cool thing.
Some of my body's money that experience.
And look at there, we're just in your back door. How long did it take you out to get here?
4 hours.
Ooh, that's not too bad. It's doable, right?
No.
Very doable.
Well, we're staying up in Gatlinburg.
Oh, okay.
So we drove 2 hours to get here.
Yes, because I was just in Gatlinburg over the weekend. So that's cool.
But it's so worth it.
Oh, good, good. It's a nice little day trip. It's a pretty drive.
Yeah, it is.
The sloths are still super sensitive to noises. So anytime there's a loud noise or what have you, that's why they're always on guard, or they tend to want to tense up. He's hanging pretty chill right now. So when a sloth is hanging like that, they're actually in a relaxed state. So when they close their hands, it's very relaxed. It's opposite of us. When they open their hand is when they're having to exude energy and stuff to do things, and we don't. We just sit around with our hands open. So it's kind of opposite of us when it comes to that. This sloth is very pretty. He's very clean, obviously. You can tell that. We don't bathe him. We don't brush him. He does it. He's naturally. In the wild, if you ever notice, they're more green. And that's because an ecosystem actually will live on a sloth. Their hair is designed to be porous enough so that the sloth moth can attach, and other bacteria and larvae will live on him. And so as he's grooming himself, he gets some of those nutrients from that to help with his gut bacteria. And he has to have really good gut bacteria health in order to process and even function. So it's very crucial that his gut bacteria stays nice. They're high stressors, so they can stress easily. That'll help replenish on the gut bacteria. The temperature, they need to be hot all the time. So we try to keep it at heat 78 or higher, so that he stays nice and warm and it doesn't stress him out to be cold. You're just hanging. You're not even moving for us, buddy.
It's soft too.
Oh yeah.
Very soft.
You see, huh? What you looking at?
You said his name was what?
Flash.
Flash.
So we have Flash, and then we have Zoe's in that room, and then we have a baby Dash. And we're hoping to get one more sloth, and its name, I believe, will be Chloe. I believe. So Flash here does live in a 2-story enclosure in there. It goes on up through the camel condo, so if you stay above us, you can see him at all times. He loves to climb and hang. He loves his hammock. He moves a lot more. Our other 2 sloths are more of what we call hammock babies. They prefer to be held than hang by a tree.
So cool.
You can come down, Flash, and we can take a selfie with you, huh? Yeah, you can come further down. Let's get you down. Get you all stretched out. And there it is. I see it. Okay, so he absolutely loves bananas. We don't give him a whole lot of fruit just because the fructose in it, too much sugar. They would obviously live on it. Look at that guy. Yeah. Oh, I want you to come down. You can lick your lips. Come down here because I want to take a picture. Yeah. Come on. Tell it to you, boy. He's like, you're tricking me. Yeah, I want to see you. Come stretch down here. I want to take a picture. Thank you. Come on down. Other hand. That a boy. Awesome. All right, let me get you. Oh, without banana all over it. If you want to hand it to me, and you can get really close. I promise he's not going to get you. He may even give you a kiss. Look at me. Awesome. You're such a good boy. Yeah. You're so cooperative for fruit, won't you? Their nails are infused into bone, so that's why they're able to hang for a long period of time.
So the nails go from there all the way down.
Sure does.
You smell the fruit on it, don't you?
Yeah, you smell the banana.
You're so cute.
He is pretty long. They can get up to 20 pounds. He's about 12, 13 pounds now. He could live 40 plus years. It's hard to have any, they don't have a whole lot of record on the lifespan of sloths because a lot of times natural reasons.
like, this is absolutely cool. Hey, buddy. He said, I'm done.
Move on, aren't you, buddy? I think it's really cool how he just hangs there like a basket
Yeah.
and relaxes. I'm gonna go check something real quick. You can hang out, pet and love on him for a minute.
He's just chilling.
Oh yeah, he stays pretty relaxed, especially when he's in his hammock. He's still on his back, but he'll put his nose like pretty much between his legs and just curl up in a big ball. Give me rest, don't you, buddy?
Oh, he's going to sleep now. So that's me.
And so, when it comes to the mothering, when a mother has the baby, within a couple of days the baby's eating leaves and greens. They only nurse anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. And then the baby only stays with mom anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, depends. There's no reasoning. I mean, it makes sense that once the mom or the baby feels like it's learned enough to be able to be on its own, it can, and that all depends on the environment it's in. Teach them survival, teaches them, mostly, so the sloth has to learn from mom how to go to the bottom of the tree to use the restroom, and then make its way back up. But they're very routine and habitual animals. They will use the same tree, same path, same side of the tree every time to use the restroom and come down. They don't want to come down unless they have to, obviously use the restroom. They can fall, it happens, tree branches break, corals, whatever. If they fall, they can fall up to 100 feet and be just fine. Causes no damage. They have 21 sets of ribs, so it is like a full cage all the way through.
21 ribs.
Yeah, and it protects them. And so they're able to be upside down, obviously, because that's one how they're designed. But inside those ribs it's a sticky connective tissue that helps to keep the organs in place. So no matter which position they're in, their organs never shift. And their digestive tract and everything is a one-way in, one-way out. So obviously if we stood on our head long enough, it'd make us sick of things that start coming back.
Yeah.
They don't. So they have that ability to, once they eat it or drink it, it goes in.
That's pretty cool.
They are better swimmers than they are crawlers. They're faster. They don't like to swim as far as leisure. They just don't hang out in the water. But if they wanted to transport from one spot to the next, swimming is faster for them. The three-toed sloths have a little bit of a tail as to where a two-toed does not. So the two-toed has that extra vertebrae in their midsection here that gives them more of the ability. So he's hanging and he can twist his torso completely and face the opposite direction. So we can pretzel pretty easy, can't we, buddy?
Yeah, I don't know. I just love sloths. I have sloths shirts.
Do you really?
I have a sloth blanket that I brought down here from Tennessee.
That is cool.
I have sloth shirts, little stuffed animal sloths. I just love sloths. I actually have a sloth little eraser that my daughter bought me in my
cool.
car right now.
Aw, that's
that I
cool.
keep in there.
I'm always interested in the accessories that people have. I did not realize that there was a passion or an obsession for sloths until we had sloths.
Oh, I love it. I love sloths.
There was one lady that came in, her glasses even had sloths on the frame. Like, it was crazy. Would you want a friend? Hey, buddy, come here. This is Baku, our three-banded armadillo. Where you going, buddy? So he loves to dig in your shoes and at your ankles. He's not out to bite, he just likes to dig. Where you going, buddy? Come here.
Oh my gosh.
Come here, little guy.
I've always wanted to meet an armadillo.
So these are not your typical ones that you see on the side of the road. These are 3-banded, which means, one, you know, they got the 3 bands. They are also the only armadillo that will completely close himself up and lock in
That is so cool.
for to stay protected.
They're a little hairy too.
They are. They do have a little hairs. Don't do a whole lot as far as shell goes. Their shells are not indestructible, but pretty tough. They can withstand a lot.
I always
But
thought
they
that
can
they were
actually
like,
feel through it. It's kind of like
hard.
your fingernails.
but it has like little hairs.
I'm
Hey,
gonna
buddy.
shut you out. I'm gonna shut you out and say hi. But yeah, he can be a little bit of a bother when you're sitting in there in a chair and he's wanting to dig in your socks. See what you got hidden. Is that right? You like your back scratches, don't you? Yeah, give me back scratches.
He's adorable.
He's a little over a year old. They tell us that he'll get the size of a soccer ball, but we shall see. Not so sure about that.
Oh, I see the hammock in there. So they got little hammocks.
So that is his catch net, but he does have a hammock straight up there. We'll let him go back in his room in a minute, and you can watch him climb on up there. He absolutely loves his hammock. And then Zoe has a hammock in her room. She stays in hers. Now Flash will move around his room, and he'll stay in just about any spot. He'll
Will I
find-
get to meet Zoe too, or?
I think it's just the Flash, but you'll get to see her because she's just right there. But I think it is just the encounter, which is with Flash. But I want to double check. I don't want to. I don't want to short or cheat you out on any of it.
Hey, buddy. I forgot he was even in here.
Yeah, it's just with Mr. Flash here. But yeah, you'll have to come back. Yeah, see what I mean? You'll have to come back when we get our new baby. You would absolutely love to hold the baby. When are you gonna get Baku? You gonna see if he has any, or if she has any bugs in there? So he digs in dirt, which is, you can see the dirt box up there, for mealworms.
I ain't got much on me, I promise. Oh,
Goofy. So he is able to stay in the bottom of Zoe's room because Zoe doesn't come to the floor. And so it doesn't bother her to have him running around. He was in the bottom of Flash's room, but that stressed him out because he made noise and would run around, and Flash comes to the bottom of the tree to go potty, and that would stress him out, so we had to swap rooms.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to make a trip back,
Absolutely.
just so I can,
I mean, snuggle one of them.
yeah,
We'll have 3 total that you can actually hold. What are you doing,
just
buddy?
being able to pet him makes my whole day. Like my day, I don't wanna do nothing else.
Look at there. Ah, look at that silly goose. Why are you clawing at me?
It tickles.
It does.
I thought it was
He
gonna
used
hurt a
to
little
have-
bit, but it just
He used to have more
tickles.
pointed claws, just like Flash here. But his the concrete, where he walks on the concrete, it files his nails up. Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could just take you home with me.
They're pretty cool pets.
Tickles.
They're pretty easy to take care of too. He eats cat food, so he's fairly easy. Cat food and mealworms, so he's pretty easy to take care of.
I have a bunch of worms, especially when it rains. It's like my garage, my driveway.
Isn't that crazy how
They
they just
come on my garage and then on my driveway, it's like millions of them.
Covered.
Where do you even come from? Your little hairs are tickling me, buddy. Yeah, I don't want to do nothing else today. Like, I don't want to wash my hands today.
You're just gonna think about the sloth, and that's awesome. We're glad that we got to fulfill a dream of yours.
It's been a dream for a while.
So it was a complete surprise. You didn't know you were coming here.
No,
That's awesome.
she told me she said, don't wear cologne, don't wear anything that smells good. And she was like, just in case, wear an old shirt. And I was like, okay. And then she
What are you doing, buddy?
she pretty much just told me that it was for me. She told me that she had bought me something for when we go to Tennessee, but I forgot about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
She told me weeks ago, and I was like, what are you buying me? I was like, this is family vacation. I didn't know. She wouldn't even tell me when we were sitting out there.
So you still didn't know, even
I
though-
thought I was meeting a zebra. And I was like,
That's awesome. She did good keeping the surprise.
yeah. I love it.
Yeah, so we have to be careful because we used to go out and we would encounter people and be like, who's here for the sloth? And they're like, they didn't know. And so now I'm always coming out, who is here for the encounter? And then we'll say, do you know why you're here? So that we don't ruin things like that.
Well, I figured it out when I seen the Sloth shirt. I was like, oh, she got me. She got it to where I could meet a sloth. Even if I don't get a whole one, like I'm definitely gonna come back next year just so I can hold.
Cool, yeah, absolutely.
Because I just love sloths. There's no doubt about it.
Well, there you go.
She was trying to get me to wear my sloth shirt. I was like, why is she not gonna wear this? It's not gonna match. But now I know.
Now you know.
Cause I have a tie-dye sloth shirt and it's holding a piece on it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we're hoping to get our store up and running pretty soon, and we'll have more stuff to be able to. What are you doing, buddy? To be able to, sell and have different things.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna get a sloth shirt just so I can say that I was it.
That's cool.
You don't experience this kind of stuff in Alabama. They don't have this kind of
No,
stuff in Alabama.
I had heard it's either Alabama or Mississippi that has a zoo where you can go and do an encounter, but there's no guarantee. It's either if they're cooperative that day, which is the same with Flash. If he's not in the mood for coming down, we don't force it, but he knows his routine. Every morning he'll come out and get on the branch because he knows it's breakfast time. He likes to be hand-fed. At night he gets his own food. We leave a food dish in there and he has to forage for it himself, which is fine. But yeah, he's pretty routine, and he'll come down and to be fed. Are you ready to go back in, Flash?
It's nice meeting you, Flash.
Watch them climb. They move a little faster than you think. The wild sloths obviously move slower because, once again, they are not exposed to the nutrients. And these guys are raised captive, therefore they adapt. You are more than welcome to come on in with him. You can watch him come on in. He can hang all of his body weight on just 2 fingers.
I'm trying to avoid stepping on this little fella.
He gets bumped a lot, no worries.
Oh, that's cool. That's how I move in the morning.
I do just because my joints don't work.
I'm young, but my job makes my back hurt.
What kind of work do you do?
I love Honda parts.
Oh, okay.
I love Honda exhaust parts.
Oh, nice.
I don't get weird angles and
Just staying in position for so long doing it, yeah, I'm sure.
my wife says I'm 86.
It's okay.
He's cool.
You're gonna head on up to Zamek. So yeah, so right up there to the picture window, if you stay in the condo above it, you can see it at all times.
I appreciate
love that we got to fulfill a dream for somebody again. That is our passion.
Bye, buddy. Too fast for me.
Where you going, big guy?
Oh.
Let's stop these real quick. One way or the other.